I do want to know what each of your special backgrounds are. I know Dipesh, you're kind of the smart contract guy.
Yep.
Because when I ask you guys questions, I'm going to pick who answers it. Like I'm gonna, and you can pass it. But as I mentioned, Nodar, I have this problem with if I ask you guys a question, you guys are gonna be like, "Oh, should you answer it? Should I answer it?"
Okay.
So I'll,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yep.
yeah. So any maybe more technical question, should I direct at you, Dipesh? And how about like a DeFi question as far as like Uniswap liquidity pools and that kind of stuff?
Technical, yes.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yes. But the
Yeah, you see,
everything else.
there it goes, there it goes.
All right,
I'm going to do
Dipesh,
that.
who should answer the DeFi questions?
Nodar. Nodar's going to answer all the business related stuff, DeFi related stuff. He has a tremendous knowledge and stuff from that part more than I have.
Yeah, I come with a from financial background. I mean, so does Dipesh actually. The cool thing, like why I kind of feel like we clicked working with Dipesh right away. I always say this when I reached out on Kyber's Discord. He immediately reached out, and he was an ex-CPA himself. So like last year, he started. He took a class for consensus that this year he's teaching. Like the example I like to mention.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That is a good example.
Exactly.
Right on. Cool. Sweet. Well, why don't we go ahead and get stuck in? Just to mention, my name is Clayton Roche. I'm the head of DeFi with Mosendo, and I also do these DeFi Nation interviews.
Fantastic.
So let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell us a bit about DeFi Zap? I've checked it out a little bit. It was exciting enough for me to reach out to you guys to do this interview, particularly because I know kind of what the users in DeFi Nation are doing, like things they're interested in with DeFi lending. I'm also conscious that like Uniswap liquidity pools, I think a smaller subset of our group really understand what's going on there. And it's a little bit more of like a version, like an advanced user kind of stuff. And what I see in DeFi Zap is potentially an easier way of going about it. Is that kind of is that a reasonable summary, Nodar? Maybe
yeah, that's a great summary, and actually specific to like Uniswap pools, just like you said. I think investors are having a hard time just tracking their returns when they come in and out of pools, right? You have to take into account impairment loss, and how do you track your returns? Which kind of asset do you track your returns in? So what we allow you to do with DeFi Zap is come in with Ether, and soon we're going to have anti-zaps where you come out with Ether. So you see exactly how much you came in with and how much you came out with. So maybe you don't care about the second, entry token, the second ERC20 token. Maybe you want to supply, like the most popular one has honestly been the one with a Seth pool with synthetics. So you don't actually get, you're always staying exposed to Ethereum instead of kind of taking the half and converting it to the entry token and then supplying that to the liquidity pool. You're always staying in Ethereum because the half is getting converted to the synthetics Ether, which is Ether. So you're kind of like supercharging your Ethereum, but again, it's subject to impairment loss. So you have to be able to understand that you have to kind of generate those fees for a while to kind of get over that curve.
So let me just explain my understanding of impermanent loss. That way, anyone watching who doesn't already know has a sense as well. My understanding with impermanent loss. So actually, maybe we should even take a little step back and say like what providing liquidity is to these pools.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my understanding, and we've done some interviews about this. In fact, Nate from Bancor was actually the one who really got me to really understand and wrap my head around it. But basically, you're providing two different assets, and it's the ratio of those assets to each other that correlates to the price, which is sort of set through arbitrage means on other marketplaces as well. Basically, anytime the ratio of the pools of assets becomes a little bit off, there's an opportunity for someone to bring it back into equilibrium, which is how the price of a liquidity pool stays the same. So all of that being said, like you get rewards providing assets to these liquidity pools. There's an incentive to do so. And when you do, you always provide both assets in each pool. And that's exactly what DeFi Zap helps you with is it takes away that extra step. You can just send it in ETH and then it trades it for the whatever other asset you're pairing with ETH. And but the thing with impermanent loss and the risk associated with it is basically if the value of the assets changes a lot relative to the other. So like if the value of Ethereum drops a lot in a DAI ETH liquidity pool, you can actually end up with a lot less of one of the assets than the other. And your dollar value of those two assets can actually go down. And that's called impermanent loss. That's about the complexity of my understanding of maybe Dipesh, you want to jump in? Want to jump in and tell me if I've missed anything?
No, I think that's pretty apt actually. That's pretty much I think the most easiest explanation of impermanent loss, where one of the assets, or in fact both the assets for that matter, actually just there's a huge volatility in the price of either of the assets. Then there is, yes, if you sort of go back to the pool to withdraw your tokens as well as your share of ether, it's likelihood that the dollar value of what you should the dollar value of what you should have had you not gone into liquidity pool will be less to compare to the dollar value what you just get right now.
Good distinction. Yes. Yeah. Obviously, it's not going to protect you from the value of ETH falling a lot. But yeah, the impermanent loss is actually when you compare if you hadn't versus when you did go into the pool. Yeah. So I actually wanted to do a quick little screen share of your website, which I'm going to do right now. Because, so when I first popped on here, I was just kind of participated in the survey you have here. I'm in the Philippines at the moment and my internet is not so hot. So I really liked that there was kind of these questions that don't ask me about impermanent loss or liquidity pools or anything terribly complicated. So when I did it through here, it says, what's your investing style? Conservative. How much experience do you have interacting with DeFi protocols? Say advanced. What's your current strategy? Long-term buy and hold. And what's your outlook on ETH/USD? So my understanding of why you're asking this question has to do with impermanent loss. Is that right, Nodar?
Well, not exactly. We actually had this question even before the Unipool Zaps. So this question is to help us kind of determine. So we have some Zaps that help you even short ETH, that help you long ETH with leverage. So yeah, it's we recommend you a couple of Zaps at the end of this process. We don't want this to be as investment advice, even though we really have to work on this. This is exactly what it looks like now. But yeah, we just wanted to create a filtration process because, as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of Zaps, and in the future, we'll even allow you to create your own Zaps. So, we wanted to create a nice filtration process. And again, for those new users, like we see this as a tool that will eventually, that will onboard the masses, the ones that don't even need to know anything about crypto, but want to take advantage of the investment opportunities available in open finance.
Absolutely. And you also mentioned the financial advice. It's always a concern, right? So like, this is not financial advice. This is purely for educational purposes, information.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the companies could build up, experiences around it. We actually have a good amount of interest. There's already people building hackathon projects using DeFi Zap, as an integration. So that's been really cool to see. And
nice.
Yeah, like you could build a company that would be registered with all the licenses, and that's actually something we're planning on doing ourselves. The areas that we operate in, especially where you go through the survey, we want to do everything according to law, of course. So yeah,
of course. Okay, awesome. So I have two questions for you. The first one I'm going to ask real quick because it's on my screen. So when I went through this process and you recommended this Zap, Oh, okay. I guess I thought that this was a liquidity pool, but it's probably not. You're just recommending that I.
Yeah, because like recently on December 5th, we launched a series of Zaps with our Uniswap integration that allows you to get one-click access to providing liquidity on Uniswap. We
Okay.
already had other Zaps that we launched for the hackathon itself, which happened like 2 or 3 weeks before that, which includes things like Lender and Super Saver. So like, yeah, like for this one, Super Saver, you know, once you input your ETH, it will be spread into Compound and Fulcrum to generate interest fees on both. So like,
Got it.
you know, and eventually we're actually planning to update this into kind of self-rebalancing, optimizing tokens. So for example, instead of putting 50% into CDAI, you will put it into Idle DAI or Topo Finance. We're also working with them to be able, so that portion will always be seeking out the best interest rate within the ecosystem.
Sure. Awesome. And so Dipesh, I wonder, I know that you've worked on the smart contract side of things, and we talk a lot about smart contract risk and DeFi Nation. Maybe you could answer to that kind of concern as far as, like I noticed here that you save a number of contract wallet interactions. So that's certainly nice from the UX perspective. On the background, kind of what's going on in the contract level.
Yeah. So, see, from the security point of view, the one thing that really stands out is that the way the function calls that we designed, which literally put the users so ETH into the underlying tokens, for example, Uniswap, right? All of that is designed in a fashion that only if the entire cycle completes will the transaction go through. Otherwise, there is no risk. And also, the key thing to note is that the smart contract never sort of holds the funds for any, it does not hold the funds at all, in fact. It just bounces quickly.
Sure.
So the ETH comes in if the transaction, which means the swap can happen between any token, and if we can get inside the pool at a particular rate that is decided with certain slippage values. If all of that is successful, then it all happens immediately, and it's all within one block. So the entire function call can only complete if the token has to go back to the user. Otherwise, it sort of will never do that transaction. Which sort of I see it as if I'm the user. So I don't want to have that risk if I'm putting my funds somewhere. That, oh, you're going to do this, and then you're going to wait, then you're going to call another one. No, that's kind of risky. So that's the way I've designed it. That okay, never we're just going to take the position for a fraction of a second because that has to happen within one block, but has to pass it to you immediately. Otherwise, that sort of never goes through.
I see. And what's cool about at least Idle DAI, CDAI, and Uniswap is you actually get those tokens back, just like you said, at the end of that transaction. So you're never taking on, other than maybe that split second when you sort of send the money into DeFi Zap, you're never taking on like a perpetual risk of holding something that's like a DeFi Zap token or something. So there's not really, you're not taking any sort of additional risk than just holding IDAI, for example, other than like, unless this was just a contract that was stealing everyone's money, in which case you probably wouldn't have made it to this interview. Like that would have been discovered. That would have been discovered by now.
Yeah, the thing I like to always mention is, like when you use DeFi Zap, you get back the same exact tokens that you would if you were to manually interact with all of these protocols yourself. Okay. So we're watching users right now. They're doing 2 or more of the same kind of repetitive actions. And we're creating a Zap for them because it's like if you're always doing the same thing, doing kind of like 18 different MetaMask approvals throughout the way, why don't we, create a Zap for you and automate that step for you, and without adding on any extra kind of security risk, because like I said, when you come to DeFi Zap, you're minting the same exact tokens. When you input the ETH, we take that ETH and we go out to Uniswap. We provide that liquidity and we mint the same tokens that you would if you were to go yourself on Uniswap and add liquidity. Except for you would first take, you need to come with ETH, first approve the trade to get the other token, which would be, DAI or Seth or whatever other ERC20 token you want to supply the liquidity pool to. And so that's a MetaMask interaction there. Another one is you actually making the trade, the swap, from Ether to the other token. And then the last one would be actually taking the ETH and your newly acquired swap token, and then adding that as liquidity as a third MetaMask interaction for yourself. So with DeFi Zap, it's a one-click type of thing. You come in, just input ETH. In the background, we split that up for you, and then the result is being supplied, and the tokens are being minted. Again, the same exact way as if you were to manually interact with those yourself.
And what are the, Nodar, what are the fees to use the service?
So right now we have no fees. You know, while we're in beta, we are not charging any fees. We might start testing out a fee for the anti-zap feature, which allows you to go in reverse. But again, for the beta version, while we're in beta, we're you know, we want to prove ourselves, and that's exactly what we've been doing. And you know, that's what we want to continue doing. What we are making available, and actually one of the providers will announce a partnership this week, is basically we'll let you integrate DeFi Zap into your you know, front-end solution that you're building, and you could decide if you want to charge a fee. So you could make it, it could remain free, just like you know, we have it. Or if you have some kind of special experience that you provide, we feel like you deserve to kind of get paid, obviously. We want people to create business models around this. So like, you know, we're giving people option to modify that fee, and that's the fee that we would split with folks once they, if they decide to implement that. So yeah, pretty excited about a first partner that will announce their partnership. And again, I think these partnerships are working out pretty good, these integrations, because again, the integrator partners are not taking on any extra liability, you know, when they're adding on DeFi Zaps for their end users.
I see. Nice. Okay, that's great. So tell me a bit about, like, you've told me about DeFi Zap and what we can do on it right now. And you also mentioned the integration side of things. Nodar, can you tell me a bit about, like, what do you see for the future of DeFi Zap? What do you see like a year on from now, or 5 years? And maybe how does that play into your, like, your vision for what DeFi should be?
Yeah, for sure. So like, you know, this is the first version. You know, like, we don't think our smart contracts are some kind of like, there's no some kind of groundbreaking innovation here. We're just making it easy, right? I think that's what the space is missing a lot of. For version 2, we have some cool features coming up in terms of like optimizing gas and having dynamic zaps, which basically use the manual zaps and anti-zaps, combination of those, to optimize your positions based on your risk. So as you can imagine, like the questionnaire that we have now, those 4 questions, it's really simple for now. So we're going to expand on those. You know, like right now, our first target audience are the current DeFi users, like I said before, performing 2 more actions. Soon we're going to be looking into users who are looking to diversify into multiple platforms using like automatic investment plans, what's known in traditional finance, where you would basically, you know, connect your bank account and every X amount of days have the, you know, the deposit go into a Zap of your choice, sort of to say. And eventually, like I said before, we want to really expand this out into people who are just, you know, not even, you know, bringing new DeFi users into the space, because that's what the core of our approach, you know, furthering user adoption within the space. So that's what we want to become the betterment of DeFi, sort of to say.
Gotcha. Yeah. And like right now, as I go to your website, it's very much for like a crypto person, right? Like your first questions are about, you know, like what about ETH or USD. I imagine being able, like an earlier question that's like, do you know anything about crypto, or do you just have a bank account with dollars and it's like, I just have dollars. And then you're like, okay, well, you need to use a gateway, or like maybe you've abstracted some of that levels away. But yeah, I like that idea of being able to reach out to people who are not necessarily across all this. And, you know, if you can help, the betterment side of things, if you can help just kind of explain the results, like the risk level and the results in normal language, I think you can get after a lot more people than, you know, the level of understanding that we.
I think that's what made us stand out on the hackathon itself, you know, like this questionnaire and this kind of like take on user experience. And I think this happened because, you know, I've started making DeFi tutorials myself back in the summer. I've been just kind of, you know, I myself have been trying to figure out how to best provide value to the community and trying to build something myself. So like, I've been always building based on like direct user feedback. So it's been exciting watching people give me feedback from those DeFi tutorials. Then, you know, I hacked up the DeFi strategies kind of trading simulator. And literally from there, people were like, whoa, I thought I was going to be able to place these trades directly from this tool. And, you know, like that's how DeFi Zap was born. And that's when I linked up with Dipesh for the Kyber's Hackathon. So that was pretty exciting to see that kind of progress and seeing the community kind of build this up with me, essentially.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So Dipesh, I kind of want to ask you the same question about like, what excites you about DeFi? What do you see for the future of kind of the people who are outside of the DeFi space right now? And how do you see DeFi Zap serving that?
So, well, when it comes to excitement about the DeFi Zap, right? Nodar mentioned, right, that I come from a background with a CPA. So I think apart from one or two people, my entire friend circle, social circle is about people who have no idea about crypto, no idea about what's happening. They don't even understand the term DeFi. So the excitement is all about making it sort of so easy so that people can easily relate or sort of understand what DeFi means and then use it. A simple example, a very good friend of mine, she's a lawyer, and I've been updating her since day one that we did DeFi and DeFi on the Hackathon. She's been behind my sort of back in terms of using DeFi Zap, but she has no clue about what MetaMask is, what he does, all that thing. And she's like my target model right now. That, okay, I need to make it so simple that even she can use it without understanding any of the parts. So that's where also the future vision is that, you know, we want to make DeFi Zap really a simple website where anyone can come and as pretty much they use Betterment, they can sort of use it, answer simple questions to determine what your risk profile is, send some dollars and see how your money is performing. As simple as that. So take away all the issues. And I wouldn't do it myself. I mean, I put my money into some portfolio managers. If it becomes difficult, I don't want to even see a website. And then one of my use cases, my wife, she has practically no clue about crypto world, and she kind of hates it for the technical difficulties that it faces. And yeah, so she's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to see all of this. Just make it so easy and let me have my reports. That's when I will talk to you for DeFi Zap.
Sure. Awesome. Well, that sounds really great, guys. I'm curious if there's anything else you think people should know about DeFi Zap before we wrap it up. Is there any takeaway you think we covered?
Actually, a cool one we're about to launch within the next few hours concerning Uniswap. I actually wanted to tell you about this during the call. We're gonna do a pool which helps you pool into the chai pool on Uniswap. So if you want to do that right now, right? Like if you want to get chai, there's crazy slippage that you'll experience because to go directly from ETH to chai, the pool size right now is only 13 ETH large. So it's a really small pool. So as you can imagine, just putting one ETH, you know, it's already like over 10% slippage, under 10%. But yeah, so what we want to do is blow that pool up without people experiencing slippage when they enter that pool. So what we're doing with this app is we're actually having a lot more steps in the background that we're automating. So what we're doing is when you're inputting Ether, in the background, the half is not converting directly to DAI. To chai. What we're actually doing is first converting it to DAI, and then on chai's website, wrapping it into chai, and then using those proceeds with the leftover Ether to then pool to that liquidity. So basically you would be able to add, so essentially, first of all, the half of the Ether that you sell for chai is obviously that chai is generating interest itself. And plus, by providing liquidity to the pool, you will also be generating fees, the trading fees from Uniswap. One thing you have to watch out for, which we'll make note of, is again the impairment loss that you might experience, that you will most definitely experience, especially when the pool is not so large. But you know, once we do blow it up, I think like the whole point is that we want to provide this chai liquidity into the ecosystem. Like we want people to go directly from ETH to chai because it makes sense to use chai. Why would you use even DAI, you know, if chai is like accruing interest at all times, you know? I think it's actually the tweet that Vitalik came out with like literally 2 hours ago, making people, you know, telling people that, hey, did you know that you could, you know, wrap your DAI into chai and earn 4%? So like that's like literally, I was like, wow, this is perfect timing.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to checking that out. Dipesh, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Actually, Nodar, do you want to talk about the Christmas thing, the gift one?
The Christmas apps, it's, that's another thing I was going to mention. In addition to chai, we're also working on Christmas Zap. So it's like gift the power of DeFi this holiday season to your friends. Okay. So the process is the same. You input, you know, the amount that you want to gift, and then in the second step will allow you to choose where you want to send the proceeds to. So, you know, imagine your friend getting, gift the Zap. Like I said, your friend getting something that he's automatically seeing the interest getting accrued on. Like, I think that would be pretty powerful. And again, getting new folks into the space who haven't been in DeFi before, showing them the power of DeFi, like I said.
Yeah, that's cool. So when is the Christmas Zaps going to be live?
So we want to, like this, we're wrapping things up in terms of the front end experience, because like realistically in terms of the smart contracts and the back end, everything is done. We want to make it like a cool experience for the front end users and for the receivers. Sure. Actually, even have a meeting with folks from Wire tomorrow. Perhaps like the best case scenario would be like if you text it to someone, right? Like text somebody a Zap. But that's kind of like the ultimate goal. For now, we'll probably make people enter their wallet addresses of the receivers. And that's something, like by Friday this weekend, we're obviously trying to push this out ASAP, for the holidays.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So a lot of things brewing up here.
Nice.
And it's been exciting watching the progress of the team. It's incredible.
Cool. Well, congratulations on winning that Kyber hackathon. And
thank you.
Great chatting with you, Nodar and Dipesh. Looking forward to what you come out with next. And we'll stay on top of you. Cheers, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much
for having us. Have a good one.